Chair now recognizes the ranking member, Mr. Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I must say, if I may, in passing, that you look quite well in the seat. If I may, Mr. Williams, I make notes and I go back through my notes to provide some degree of clarity. So let's start with a statement that you made, only to provide clarity, Mr. Williams, I assure you. You indicated that while under subpoena today, you were making certain statements. And to provide clarity, I want to make sure you understand, and I believe you do, that you were under subpoena today because you requested a subpoena. The committee would have allowed you to come without subpoena, but it was at your request that we issued a subpoena. Are you aware of this?
I am aware of that.
Okay. Let me go to my next point. You indicated something about organizations that would be assisting you if certain circumstances existed with reference to the complexion of supervisors. Do you have proof today of contact prior to being subpoenaed? Let's start with that as our asset point. Do you have proof of contact prior to being subpoenaed of contacting civil rights organizations? Do you
Yes,
have that
sir.
proof with you today?
I can look at my phone and show you the records. I could probably
No,
have to
you
go
can do
back.
this for me. Just tell me what organizations did you contact?
My family and I, we reached out to Congressman Warder's office.
Do this for me. Organizations, civil rights organizations. For example, did you contact the NAACP?
We contacted Reverend Al Sharpton's Action Network. We talked to people, because I'm from Chicago, we talked to people from Operation Push,
Did you do that personally?
personally and other people on my
Well,
behalf.
just tell me about what you did personally, if you
Yes,
would,
sir.
please. Personally, you contacted the NAACP?
I didn't contact the NAACP.
Did not.
No, sir.
Okay. Personally, did you contact the National Action Network? Personally?
Yes.
Okay. And personally, did you contact some other organization that you can call to my attention now?
Yes.
Okay, if you would, please.
And back home, I contacted Operation Push.
Push.
Yes.
Okay. And any others?
My family,
If
not
you would,
personally.
just
not me.
only what you did personally.
No, sir.
Okay. And I have a reason for asking it this way in terms of personal contact. Now, let's talk about this. You're both fair-minded people, and you want to make sure that you're treated fairly, but you also want to make sure that others are treated fairly as well. Is this a fair statement, that you want to make sure others are treated fairly as well? Let's talk about some of the others. One of you, having been a bank examiner, I'll just use banks as a part of this question. If we find that banks have employees who are expressing similar concerns, would you want us to hold ex parte hearings with reference to these employees? For fear that you may not understand the term ex parte, just let me ask you, would you want us to hold hearings similar to these hearings with bank employees if they were experiencing similar circumstances? Mr. Williams, would you want us to hold hearings with banks, or is this just for the CFPB that you want these things done? So would you want us to do a similar thing if you were working at a bank and you had similar circumstances and Congress has oversight of banks? Would you want us to do this, Mr. Williams? Would you want us to hold similar hearings?
I want you to do what's prudent. Yes, sir.
All right. You would want me to hold these hearings, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Mr. Narahi, would you want us to do the same thing? Or is this only for the CFPB, Mr. Narahi?
No.
Would you want us to do a similar thing with banks?
Here's what I would say about that.
Now, you will say yes or no for this one, please. Would you want us to do the same thing if banks were discriminating invidiously against people?
In my capacity as a bank examiner or just as a
No.
US
Would you
citizen?
want Congress to call in to give those persons at banks to come before this committee and testify? Would you want us to give them the opportunity to do so?
Do you want my personal opinion? Or
Yes,
my
I'm
bank
asking you for
exam?
your personal opinion.
Yes.
Would you want this to happen? Or is this
Possi-
only for the CFPB
No,
that
if
you're here?
possible, yes.
You would. All right. Would you want, you said level the playing field, Mr. Williams. Would you want us to level the playing field with banks? If we find that banks have an unlevel playing field? Would you want this committee to do what it can to
Absolutely.
level it?
Yes.
All right, let's move on. Would you want us to use disparate impact as a theory with banks? You indicated that we're using it today. Would you want us to use the same theory with banks?
Absolutely.
Would you want us to have persons who are working at banks who may be hearing what we're saying today by and through television or some other means of hearing these proceedings? Would you want them to contact us, just as you were able to contact us?
Yes.
Would you want them to contact us and say, my bank is discriminating against me?
Yes.
And should we hear from these witnesses just as we're hearing from you without the benefit of hearing from the other side? If a person says I've been discriminated against, do you want us to hear from them just like I'm hearing from you today? Same way. No change.
Yes.
Thank you. Sir, Mr. Narahi? Mr. Narahi, you hesitate on some important questions. Are you here for the CFPB only, or do you want to see people who are being discriminated against, regardless of the venue, have an opportunity to be heard?
Sir, the reason I hesitate is it's beyond my knowledge or my...
Well, I'm not asking you about what you know about banks. I'm asking you that if you were working at a bank and experiencing these same circumstances, would you want the chance to sit in this chamber today?
If possible, yes, sir.
Okay. Finally, you said change the administration, Mr. Williams. If a bank had similar circumstances, would you want the administration at the bank changed? I'm using your exact language.
Yes.
You said change it. You agree, Mr. Narahi? Are you only here for the CFPB, Mr. Narahi? Do you want to see other
yes.
people
I
who are
am here for
discriminated
CFPB.
against have the same opportunity? Are you here to eviscerate and emasculate the CFPB?
I am not.
Well, would you want to see banks treated the same way?
Absolutely, I think they are because of our laws.
All right, finally, I would like for the record to submit the request that the ranking member and I have made to the inspectors general, along with the other members of the subcommittee, all 7 with reference to investigating complaints of discrimination. This would include the CFPB. I would also, Mr. Chairman, ask that we include for the record a document styled Objective and Approach for Offices of Inspector General, OIG, Review of Office of Minority and Women Inclusion, OMW, activities, and it goes on to indicate requested by ranking member and colleagues, House Financial Services Committee on March 24th, 2014. And it indicates, Mr. Chairman, that the inspectors general will be looking into allegations of discrimination, employee satisfaction results, hiring and promotions, and goes on to indicate that the final evaluation will be presented by late November 2014. If there are no objections, I'd like to submit these for the record.
Without objection, they're entered to the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will yield back.